Well. Oleksandr Usyk is the new heavyweight champion of the world, and now, of course, a two-weight world champion after a stunning, quite brilliant victory over Anthony Joshua at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, I'm just going to pause this. We started without Barry Jones. We shouldn't have started without Barry Jones
He's
because
here.
Barry is here.
Here he is.
Sorry, guy. I've been trying to work for a living.
Yeah, whatever.
Collecting bins.
Yeah, we're not quite sure where you are, but Declan and I are here in the bowels of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Oleksandr Usyk, a winner on points, unanimous decision over Anthony Joshua, who's now lost his world titles for the second time in 4 fights. Quite a brilliant display. We'll get straight to it. Declan, you were there, you were ringside, watched Usyk in all his glory. How impressed were you?
I was mightily impressed. It was one of the best performances I've ever seen in person. It was a masterclass, and like I tweeted, to do that against someone like Anthony Joshua, two-time heavyweight champion, in his third fight at heavyweight, in front of all these fans, it was a stunning atmosphere as well, and everyone's here for Joshua. It was just mind-blowing. It was mind-bogglingly good from him. And we moan a lot about boxing on this show, and I think for once we have to say that sort of thing that we saw today, you don't get it with many other sports. You don't get a condensed piece of brilliance like we just saw like that in many other sports. And he's a generational talent. There's an argument he's number one pound for pound. It was just about perfect from him.
Barry, you're nodding. Hard to disagree.
Yeah. You've said it, Declan. He hit the nail on the head. It was just sublime. It was just beautiful. He's in with a guy who's massively bigger than him. And it's the footwork's the key. He sways back and forth. And he doesn't dance around, but that judgment, the distance that he has against a guy who's naturally bigger with a longer reach, to get that right, with the fear of getting caught with a big shot, which he doesn't have, by the way. But that's the worry. He judges it to perfection, and having that foot on the outside just took away the jab at Joshua. And Joshua was afraid to throw a punch, was wary to throw a punch. He couldn't hit him with the jabs. He didn't want to throw the right hand. And Usyk just played with him. Let's be honest, he just played with him, and it was just brilliant. I gave Joshua 2 rounds, and I think one of those was because I wanted to give him a round. To be honest, I didn't. I just thought it was almost flawless from Usyk, and all of us, from a guy you think at the end of the day he's just going to be too small when the guys get bigger. Now you go, do I think he's the best heavyweight on the planet? I don't know. It's mad, isn't it? Like, you just think, oh no, Joshua, no, Fury's too big and Wilder's just too big and erratic. He'll get caught. Will he get caught? Is Fury too big? It's mad, isn't it?
I think the way that he maintained the speed and the movement and the angles, because it's all well and good doing that for 2 or 3 rounds, but then when you start getting hit by a big guy like Joshua, then I thought he was just going to slow him down. It didn't. If anything, he grew into it, and he got more elusive almost. First round, he landed 2 big straight left hands.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, Joshua can't see these. Like, he can't see them. And he didn't really, he got to grips with it sort of as the fight went on, but he got hit a lot. He got hit a lot today, didn't he?
I was surprised how Joshua maintained. He wasn't knackered. He didn't look knackered like in round 8, 9, and 10. I thought he would be blowing. But Usyk never made him work hard. He usually makes you work hard, Usyk, like early in the fight. And he just doesn't have to win the rounds, but he's making you work at a pace to lose a round. But he didn't do that because he couldn't impose himself physically on Joshua. But that constant, he never loads up. Everything's relaxed and loose. It's how you should box. But no one ever does, because things happen that make you tense up. But he never panics. Even when he gets caught, he takes a half a step back and goes again. Relaxed, that swaying side to side, that little movement. It looks like he's doing like nothing, but what it is, it stops Joshua from throwing. So Joshua's headhunting. So that pendulum movement there, Joshua's trying to hit the head. He's hitting where it was, not where it is. And he didn't think to hit the chest, because if he hits the chest, Usyk takes half a step back and comes back with a left hand over the top. And he threw 3 jabs. I can't remember what round he was. He threw 3 jabs, one after the other. Like pop, pop, pop. And they were 3 different kinds of jabs. One was straight, one came over the top, and one was like upwards. Like, who does that? He should be banned from boxing. You're not allowed to do that to a heavyweight champion of the world. Or you're giving away 2 stone 2. It's like 3 jabs, different, straight. Like, I just, like, it blew my mind. Like, I just went, this, I'd go home if I was Joshua. But Josh, listen, I don't think Joshua could have done a lot of things different. He could have put his foot on the outside. I think it would have been counteracted. Joshua got the solace now and knowing he got beat by a guy who's just too good for him. And as much as it hurts now, a year's time, 2 years' time, you'll always be happy that happened rather than get beat by Ruiz, who you think you're better than. You got beaten by a guy who go, on his best day and my best day, there's only one winner. And that's Oleksandr Usyk. All day, every day.
Usyk, of course, a notoriously slow starter, but there was nothing of that here tonight. And there never really felt like a point where either Joshua came back into it or Usyk started to fade. It was, and as we mentioned earlier, 10, 20 more seconds at the end there, and it may well have been even more conclusive.
It was a dream start, wasn't it? It couldn't have started any better for him. And like I said, his first 2 crosses that he tried landed on the button, and he must have thought, yeah, I'm in it. Settled straight in. It wasn't like the Chisora fight where he was sort of all over the shop for a couple of minutes. He was settled straight in. Joshua got to grips with him for a couple of rounds, and I thought it was a turning tide. He landed a big right hand, and Usyk steadied him up for a second. I thought, okay. But there was never a moment in that fight, unlike, say, the Povetkin fight, for instance, where you thought, okay, Joshua could ice him at any moment. You still expect him to land. It just didn't happen. And there was no thought that would happen. And that's just has to be testament to Usyk's brilliance. And you mentioned there about being the best heavyweight on the planet. I still think Fury's too big to manage that. But to do that to Joshua here in those, and it's not just he scraped it, and it's not like he just caught an open Joshua hook like Ruiz did and made him pay for it. As amazing as that win was, this was a different thing entirely. This was a boxing lesson and a masterclass from him, and they were so confident all week. And I know people always are when they come here. Everyone's always confident in fight week, but you just sense something different about them. You sense something in that camp, and they were spot on.
He didn't give Joshua an opportunity, but it's almost like he was so. Oh, it felt like he was at times. He was going, "Come on, Anthony, show us what you can do. Show me what you can do, so I can just do something better." You know what I mean? Like he could have put more pressure on him, because at one point he was flying, like he was throwing punches down and moving on the target. He didn't do that too much today. Actually, he didn't need to, but he did it a couple of times. He was darting in with shots, and you think, "Oh, he's going to start putting his foot on the pedal now." Then he'd lay off a bit, and I think that was like to play with it. I think he wanted to play with him. I don't think he wanted to stop him. I think he wanted to make it conclusively, almost like a shutout. And that's what it felt like. And at the end, because even though he's always relaxed and loose, he doesn't load up. Just for anyone, but for a big fella like him, to keep that movement and that rhythm and intensify it as the rounds go on, that's a sign of a great fighter. No, we know he's a great fighter anyway, but I mean, that's the sign of a great fighter. It is. And, it's just, and that's the only thing that Joshua can hold on to, that he got beat by a great fighter. Whatever happens to Usyk now, he's a great fighter. He was before, and he certainly is now. Now he's won the heavyweight championship of the world, and yeah, I'll watch the rematch, and they won't have the same intrigue as this one had, because this one, even if you thought Usyk could win, you could see Joshua, getting to him if he started right, or hurting him. If he could hurt him, he could stop him. That's what we felt. So there was loads of different scenarios that you could see possibly happening. Now, you just think Joshua got to get massively lucky early to win. So the rematch is almost like we said about the Wilder Fury third fight, it's almost like a foregone conclusion. You would feel.
It certainly is almost certain to be a rematch. There was a rematch clause, and I'm sure. Well, as Declan said to me earlier, what else would Joshua do other than take that Usyk fight now? And if he does that, of course, he has to at least attempt to make some changes to nullify the threat? Can he? Well, you don't think he can, of course, but what can he try and do?
It's such. Do you know what? It struck me in that obviously we know Joshua's sparring partners. We saw them all, and Wadi Camacho was amongst them. Dion Juma, people like this. How on earth do you try and replicate Usyk in sparring? It's so hard to find quality southpaw sparring anyway, let alone at heavyweight. How do you even begin to do that? And you almost can see that in the fight. You can see Joshua going, right, I need to just work this out on the job. Whereas Usyk would have big guys. Yeah, okay, none of them are Anthony Joshua, but you can find big orthodox heavyweights to spar and to work out and to have a game plan for. How do you possibly prepare for that? I think it's I don't know how, based on what we saw tonight, I don't know how Joshua beats him, apart from maybe being a bit more reckless, slightly more gung-ho with it, and just looking for trying to just overpower him and look for a knockout. But then you just end up in a world of trouble with someone like that who moves so much, and he's perpetually in and out and around the side and peppering you over the top of anything you throw. I don't know how you go about beating him. I really don't. But I do think he has to take the rematch, because I would assume if he doesn't, then that opportunity goes as well. Not saying that Joshua's not the biggest ticket in town for Usyk money-wise anyway, but I would think he would go there straight away. But who knows? He did with Ruiz, and if he did it with Ruiz, I would assume he'll do it here. But who knows? All we know is that we don't know.
I think there's lots of things that he, theoretically, of course, because Usyk would counteract it, that he could have done and should have done from the offset. I was saying, before the fight, that he has to be aggressive but economical, because he can't blow a gasket early, because he would get stopped. Because Usyk has more success from rounds 5 and 6 to like 10. It's where he flourishes, because he's made you work hard and you're knackered. But getting that foot on the outside was very important, and he never did it once. And I just think he's been more positive. You get the foot on the outside, you go land with a solid jab. Hitting for the chest was very important to stop the movement, and he never did that once. But to say it is easy. To do it is hard. The thing, he was afraid. He was trying to touch the target. He was not afraid. He was ready to hit the target from the offset, because he knew how tricky he was. He's always like, I know how tricky you are, so I'm prepared not to overextend and take any risks. But if you don't get that foot in the right position in the next fight, then it's an easier fight for Usyk again. The problem is, though, if there's the frailties that Joshua might have, is that he knows what Usyk can do to him, and he didn't have an answer for it once. And he might not have got hurt. I think he got buzzed a few times and hurt a couple of times, but not seriously hurt. Or looked like getting stopped maybe till the end. But he'll know the guy stood him on his head. And that's the way you go in then thinking, oh, I can't. See, with Usyk, you go in thinking, I can't make a mistake. And he makes you feel that. So the more you feel that, the more anxious you are, the more tense you are, the more mistakes you make. It's counterproductive. And he does that with his reputation. And then, if not his reputation, his ability in the early rounds. So you have to try and flip the table and put him under pressure somehow. I don't know you do that. I'm not a coach, so.
And on the other hand, though, it's a great point you make that Joshua's going to go in there thinking he's already outboxed me in front of everyone. On the other hand, Usyk's going to go, I'm here. I'm a solid, fully fledged heavyweight. I've just beaten the champion for 2 bouts. He would have learned an awful lot in that fight himself about how to deal with a big man like that. He'll grow from it even more. So he's an improved fighter in the rematch. How do you try it? How do you beat him? How do you go about it? I mean, I think Fury could beat him just based on that size, but we said the same about Joshua. But I would
get rid of his whole team and get Mark Breland in. He needs a job. It's a horrible task. No, Joshua's got to take a punch. But for Rob McCracken and all the other guys in the team, it's a horrible prospect, because you think, right, we got to get a plan how he beats him. Okay, right, you go back. That's your job, mate. That's what I'd say to Robert McCracken. I'd grab the first fella. Your job, game plan. I'll do the physical training stuff. Yeah, and I'll do the pads. You do the technical stuff, and you do the game plan. See you in 6 months.
The thing, of course, this time, I mean, I know that it's a very different situation to the Ruiz situation, but it's a defeat, so take it as at face value. There are not the little caveats that you can say, well, it was short notice, completely different opponent. We didn't, maybe there was that element of underestimating him. None of that is true this time. As you say, Oleksandr Usyk cannot be, in theory, any worse in 6 months' time when they do it again. So it has to be within Joshua. And you've just said how hard that's going to be.
You take the fight, you be more aggressive, you try your best to win. I just don't see a different outcome. This is why I don't like rematch clauses, because it's a fight that we know the result of. Is that not the case? Like, I can't see any other way.
But at the same time, Joshua was in the fight throughout, and he was losing, and he was handily behind on the cards, but he was in the fight, and he's a big puncher, and he's a big, strong, fearless guy. It's not like he's going in there blind. He would have grown from those rounds with him. Would I pick him to win a rematch? Absolutely not. But he's got beyond the puncher's chance. So I wasn't one of the people who wrote him off after, in the Ruiz rematch. But like you said, Martin, because there was a lot of things you could pick apart about the first fight. We don't have to list them, but you know what you were saying there. But this one is different there. But it's still Anthony Joshua. He's still that guy. And I would assume we'll end up in Saudi, and who knows?
I think there's more scars. Like you say, I don't think he grows from that fight, because he might have, he was having things done to him. He didn't know what to do, and I understand that you might learn from that. I don't know, because they've seen him box before. They know what he does. He does so many different things, but they know what he does. He didn't have an answer to it. He knew what he was doing, didn't know how he was doing it. Like I don't, to be fair, but I'm not boxing him. So I think, if anything, he goes in now more fragile than this one. I would feel, because being knocked out, I've never been knocked out. I have to put that point across. I mean, I've been knocked down, but no, say being knocked out. Okay, you can write that off. No boxers like lying to themselves and kidding themselves. Oh, I got caught with a good shot, but I'll be better next. Like Ruiz, I got caught with a big shot. I panicked. I ran out of steam. I'll be better this. I'll box cleverer. What can he do now? No, he's been totally outboxed. And I know he's saying he was in the fight. He wasn't getting bashed up, but he was getting totally outboxed. So he wasn't really in the fight, if that makes sense. Because one scorecard was 115, 113. I don't know what fight that was. Like, I generally don't know how you get that close. Like, it's ridiculous. That's my opinion. I can't see how any round, because even the rounds that were nip and tuck, Usyk just finished strong and clear. Like, it was easy to score. I thought that fight, really, most of the rounds, almost all the rounds. Being outboxed totally, it's a different psychological scars to being knocked out, and they might be worse, because you had no answer. You have no answer to anything. You've been totally schooled. And that's I'm not picking on Anthony Joshua, because he stayed in there, he tried his best. You've got to give him credit for that. And he's a good fighter, and he'll come back and he'll beat a lot of good fighters, and he might win a world title again. And he's a young enough man. He's no damage to him, and he can carry on if he wants to. So a rich man like that, I don't know why, but maybe he wants to. But I just can't, unless he catches Usyk with a big shot and knocks him out. He never beats him. After that showing there, if they both win at their best, he never beats him. And you got to. I think everyone has to say that.
Let me put you on the spot. Of course, we're now 2 weeks away from the trilogy, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. By the end of 2022, who's the best heavyweight in the world? I mean, let's assume that winners fight.
If they're all active, because who knows? But we're still waiting for the Fury Wilder third fight. I think I still go with the Declan. I think Fury still. I do think that. If they all maintain their excellence, if they're all at their best, let's say, if they all can stay at their very best, then I still think Fury. Then Usyk. See, I also Joshua was better than Wilder. Joshua would beat Wilder every time, because he's neater down the track. So I think catch him before he catches him. But yeah, I think Joshua. I think Fury will be my number one until
You
he gets beat.
Do you know what is sad though? Is that Joshua Fury just about done, isn't it?
Yeah, it's never happening.
Done.
Never.
It's gone. The
Well,
biggest
you say
fight.
that.
Yeah,
Wilder
but
lands a big
okay,
right hand, and
it's
then
got.
they lose
Okay,
it.
it's got. Well, yeah, it's gone.
But it's-
Okay, maybe they'll fight eventually, but it's gone.
Yeah.
What we had is got. The fight that we should have had is gone forever, and we're never getting it back. And boxing will never get it, and it will go down as the one that got away, but maybe the worst ever that got away in history. But worse than Joshua Wilder, which never happened. It's just really sad, and it's a real stain for everyone involved.
I would just like to note, I never moaned first, and I'm not going to. But we just seen a brilliant fighter put on a clinic.
And they watch their thing at 9:55 p.m.
Yes.
But
It can be done.
But I'm dying to moan though. But so we better finish because I'm dying to moan.
We will wrap it up there. In case you, for some reason, just joining, Anthony Joshua no longer heavyweight champion of the world, beaten comprehensively by Oleksandr Usyk here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Plenty more to come in the next couple of weeks. As I said, Wilder Fury in 2 weeks' time. We'll see if we see a similar upset then. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, do take care.